On today's episode of Insights from the Farm, we'll be talking with a farmer from Northwest Missouri who's added Proven 40 as a new mode of action to his nitrogen program and seen a significant ROI. Stay tuned to find out how. Hello and welcome to another episode of Insights from the Farm, the podcast where we talk about how you can add a new mode of action to your nitrogen fertility program to protect yourself from risk and protect that top-end yield potential. On today's episode, we're going to be talking with Andy Hull, who is a farmer from Northwest Missouri who has been using Proven 40 for the past couple of years and has really learned some great insights in terms of how his use of the product has evolved over that time and over those seasons. And really an interesting story about how you can use protocols, really look at the data, and dial in your nitrogen use efficiency. As always, I'm joined by the Dr. Ryan Van Roekel, our commercial agronomy lead here at Pivot. Ryan, how you doing this week?
Hey, I'm doing great, Rick. Thanks for having us here, and really excited to dig into Andy's story here. You know, he's got some real-world examples that we can dig into, and I think we can all learn from.
Absolutely. You know, Ryan, we're sitting here in the middle of November now, which is crazy in terms of how quickly we've moved through harvest this year. And it's funny, a couple of weeks ago, we were talking about how dry it was and how this harvest, we just were, going through the field constantly. There were no off days. And I swear about 2 days after we dropped that episode where we talked about how dry it was, I don't know that we've had 2 days without rain since then.
That's right. Yeah. For some people, you're welcome. And for other people, sorry about that. That's how it goes, though. You know, you just can't predict the weather. You can't outguess it. So I think that leads into this conversation today. Is just trying to do the best we can for the unknown weather we're going to get in 2025. And incorporate different nitrogen sources. Fine tune your efficiency. Cut out the inefficient applications. Diversify your sources of nitrogen with things like Proven 40. So it all kind of plays together here.
It does speak to the value of having multi-year data, right? Because there is no normal anymore, right? The only thing that's normal is that we get abnormal weather every year. And looking at results over a period of 2 to 3 plus years is really what helps you to understand the consistency of what's delivering on farm.
That's right.
Well, hey, let's go ahead and bring in Andy. Andy, thanks for joining us today. Really excited to dig into your story and the evolution of how you've been using Proven 40 over the past couple of years.
Yes. Thanks, Rick. Thanks for having me on. And Ryan, nice to meet you.
Well, why don't we start out with a little bit about your operation, Andy? Tell us a little bit about what you're farming up there in northwestern Missouri.
Corn and soybeans and I do 100% rotation, I guess. So I'm about 50-50 every year.
Awesome. And, as you've gone through this journey, what was your fertility program? What did it really look like before you started utilizing Proven 40?
Before I started using, probably on an average, I was using 170 pounds of fall applied anhydrous. I'd use about 20 pounds of liquid at burn down with the sprayer. And then I would do a 40-pound top dress with an airplane.
Yeah, so that's already a fairly diverse program, trying 3 different ways to get the nitrogen out there. Talk to us a little bit more about like the yields you're shooting for and what's the weather like?
Well, the weather, that's a funny story this year, well, every year, I guess. But I'm shooting for about 230 bushel corn crop on that on the average. Weather, I guess, spring usually it'll shut off about mid-June on us. We'll stay pretty dry through the July months. For the last few years, we've been very luckily been catching some timely rains. So half inch to an inch every week or 10 days we'd catch one. And that's what kind of pulls us through.
And I think I've seen other years where it looks like maybe you're way too wet as well as way too dry. So you kind of get a little bit of everything, don't you?
Correct. I don't remember the last perfect year, but this year we were extremely saturated. Most of the crops went in. I'd say about 2/3 of my corn went in good conditions, I guess. And then about the April 15th, the spigot turned on and didn't shut off till June or so. I guess we had a few very small windows. We was able to put some stuff in, but for the most part, we were oversaturated. Last of the corn didn't go in until the last couple of days of May. So I was lucky enough I didn't have any June corn this year.
Well, Andy, you've been using Proven 40 for the past 3 seasons now. Tell us a little bit about what was attractive to you, why you started using Proven 40 in the first place.
Uh, it intrigued me, I guess, trying to wean myself off synthetic nitrogens and stuff like that, kind of better for the environment. That was one of the things that really attracted me a lot. And it's tapping into a free nitrogen source that we're not utilizing, I guess, from the atmosphere on that side of things. And I was trying to narrow in or tighten up my use efficiency, I guess, nitrogen, and just not be as wasteful.
So you're looking for some new options out there, bringing in another mode of action, and Proven 40 fit the bill. So talk to us a little bit about the evolution of that experience. What did year one look like? How'd you go about testing the new technology to see how it worked on your operation?
Year one, I guess I only pulled out just a little bit of my anhydrous. About 10 pounds is all I pulled out of there, and then I did pull out the 20 pounds of at burn down with the sprayer. So a total of about 30. That year, measuring the root mass in the infield trials at about a V5, V6 stage, the root masses were double in size. The plant material itself was about a third more, and then the chlorophyll had 35% more in the treated corn. So it right there just told me it was working. So and I've been using it ever since.
Yeah, those are some great in-season observations. It sounds like our standard Reese Niven's kind of a test. Were you working with your sales rep on that?
Yes. They came around and helped me perform those in-season tests.
Yeah, I think you're working with Erin Marlowe. Is that right?
Yes, that is.
Yeah, she's a great one. I always love talking and learning from her, and I'm sure you do too.
Oh yes. She has a lot of knowledge. I guess she helps me out a lot with directions, how to go and what to use. She's the one that brought this to my door and presented it to me, and I thought it would be a good fit for me.
Yeah, so Andy, in that first year, you cut out the burn down nitrogen and used Proven 40. You got bigger plants there. I suppose, that's some of that efficiency you're talking about. When you just lay that nitrogen on top pre-plant, you're really dependent on either tillage or rainfall to get it worked in. And it's nice to see that Proven 40 on the roots, fixing every day, feeding it right to that plant. It sounds like it was working out really good for you there.
Yeah, the benefit of not having to worry about the leaching, of adding that additional mode of action, the additional source is really one of the things that we hear farmers talk about a lot. So you had that great success in year one, Andy. Continued on and moved to year two. How did your program evolve, and how did you continue to test and learn with Proven 40 in year two?
In year two, I moved forward with pulling out more of my anhydrous, which I pulled back from my original was the 170. I pulled her back to 135 pounds at that time. And then I also pulled out the top dress 40 pounds as well. So in year two, I had a total of 95 pounds I had pulled out of my system and only replaced with the 40-pound product of Pivot Bio.
Yeah, that's a really impressive decrease in the amount of nitrogen that you were utilizing and replacing with Proven 40. Talk a little bit about what your efficiency scores looked like at that point.
Prior to using Pivot Bio, I was a 1-to-1 ratio almost, if maybe a little above that. And then now in year two, I was able to get down to a 0.67 use ratio.
Yeah, 0.67 is that pounds of nitrogen per bushel. That's a heck of a improvement.
Yep. So, I was extremely excited to do that, and just the amount of dollars that I pulled out and then reallocated with just the pivot bio was crazy.
So a lot of people are going to wonder if how your yields were with that too, with the efficiency. You cut back on the pounds, but were you able to maintain yield through those years?
I never saw a dip in yield of any sorts. In year number 2, when I added all that or pulled all that nitrogen out, I do a fair amount of custom harvesting as well for close neighbors just right across the fence. It's more or less same soil types, stuff like that, but our practices are completely different. And I always use a lot of them as a check. And that year, they took a dip, which we had an extremely dry year that year through the summer months. And my yield stayed consistent, and I would say they dropped by close to 10 to 15% across the board. So, so year number 2, that's what really locked me in and really made me excited about this product.
So Andy, as you look forward past year 2 to this past crop season, what have you seen this year?
This was a very unique year with the amount of rain that we got, which we had perfect temperatures for cycling, nutrient cycling, and stuff like that. So we didn't see my yields all stayed the same, but there was a little bit of nitrogen deficiency in one area where I did not apply the Pivot Bio. In this instance, I got rained out, and I had about 10 acres of the field left. And I came back about 2 days later, and I had a small window to finish that. But I did not want to open up another box of Pivot, 40-acre box of Pivot, to do that 10 acres and waste the rest. I wish I would have now, but you could see it to the row, the burning of the corn, the nitrogen deficiency to the row. It was pretty unique. Yield-wise, what I've pulled out of my nitrogen program and replaced with the Pivot Bio, there's $50 that I've pulled out of my nitrogen program and only replaced with the Pivot Bio product. So.
Yeah. Andy, there's a lot of different ways that farmers utilize Proven 40, and what we tell folks is, hey, take the replacement, add that new mode of action, and you're really looking for success. Looks like the same or better yields, and it sounds like you've really dialed it into a point where you're hitting the same yield number, you're getting to your yield target that you really want to be at, and you've been able to take a significant reduction in your other inputs.
Correct.
Yeah, it's a different way of looking at it, compared to a lot of other products in agriculture where you're always looking to add more and get more. But it's great to see, you've got some real world example here over multiple years where you can dial in the ROI angle instead.
Yes, and that's more what I'm looking at. I have a lot of people ask me, well, what's the yield? Because when you add a product or whatever to your system, they want to know yield, and they always relate that to yield. And I guess I was looking at it as a reallocation of dollars and try to save it on the ROI side of things, and it has worked tremendously for me.
Andy is somebody that's really tested this product over multiple years, seen consistent results, and is really a believer. Talk to us a little bit about, when you talk to your friends and neighbors that farm as well, what do you hear from them, and what do you tell them about Proven 40?
I guess it's hard to talk to people about it because nitrogen is one thing, you're playing with fire, and a lot of people do not like to pull that out of their system. And they would just soon, I guess, in my opinion, over apply and go with it. And I guess that's one spot in my operation where I saw we could be more efficient and not as wasteful. And that's when I really started. This product gave me the confidence to really start pulling back. So, and I don't believe I'm done pulling back yet.
Thanks for that insight, Andy. I really appreciate how you're taking a really hard, close look at your farming operation and trying to be more efficient. It's as you say, it's not always easy just to add something and get more. It really takes somebody paying attention to the details, and dialing in like that, like you've done, is really impressive. So thank you so much for sharing that story with us.
Well, thank you for having me on there, Ryan and Rick. I appreciate it, and I do love speaking about this stuff, and I truly do believe in this product. It has worked for me, and it has proven itself year after year to me to work and be a valuable resource in my operation.
I'm assuming that's a pun intended moment there, Andy, right?
Yeah.
Well, Ryan, if we think about Andy's story, this is really lining up with what we've seen from our own internal testing over the past couple of years, all across the Corn Belt and corn growing regions.
Yeah, that's right. We've been able to pull together all of our yield results over the last few years and pull them together onto a map and run some statistics on them, and we've got very similar results to what Andy's talking about. So when I look at the multi-year, which again, the weather's so crazy, it's always good to look at multiple years. So we actually have some testing data going all the way back to 2021 before Proven 40 was officially Proven 40 and launched. And so we're looking at a 4-year summary here. We're showing a 1 bushel per acre advantage, which again, normally 1 bushel, nobody's going to get excited about that. But the magic is that that includes a 37 pound of nitrogen replacement on average in all these tests. And that's 424 fields that we're quoting here. So tons of replication, more than just Andy's word. We've got a lot of evidence here where we've got folks can successfully pull out some of their inefficient nitrogen sources, use Proven 40 instead, and get the same or better yield at the end of the year.
And it's that consistency over multiple years that's given so many of our customers the confidence to continue to experiment and learn and try to really dial in their nitrogen use efficiency.
Yeah, the interesting thing I took away from Andy's story was he had the best yields compared to some of those custom operations. The best yields came from a dry year. So normally we think about nitrogen loss in a wet year, which certainly there's a lot of that, and Proven 40 is looking really good in those areas this year. But even in a dry year, it can be challenging to get nitrogen fertilizer into those plants. And it just points out another example. We're having that different mode of action, those microbes fixing nitrogen on the roots, right where the plant needs it, right when the plant needs it. That can have a big effect, even in dry years.
One of the great things about the way that we've collected data over the past couple of seasons here around Proven 40 is we've made that available to all of our commercial agronomists that are out there in the countryside. And for farmers that are interested in learning more, all they've really got to do is reach out to their local sales rep and they can start to have a conversation about their fertility program, how Proven 40 could complement that as a new mode of action. And they can even work with their sales rep to get some time with the agronomist and really understand local performance. Because as you can see in this map here, the testing has really been broadly done all across the U.S.
Yeah, and just like in Andy's case, everybody's nitrogen situation is a little bit different. Their goals are different, and you can use Proven 40 in a lot of different ways. So I think the best way to find that out, if you don't know who you're looking for, is on pivotbio.com. You can look up our locator, plug in your zip code, and it'll pull right up who your closest people are, and you can reach out, have a good conversation.
That's kind of been the thing that sticks out to me as we have this conversation today. Is we've been doing this for a number of weeks now, looking at harvest results and really the different stories about how people are working Proven 40 into their nitrogen program. We've really looked at a lot of different ways that the people are using it, and a lot of different ways that they're finding success.
Yeah, for sure. That's kind of job security for an agronomist. Is everybody's soil's different, everybody's crop's different, the weather's always different, and so you gotta dig in. You kind of put the odds in your favor as best as you can, and put together a good plan for next year.
All right, Dr. Ryan Van Roekel, I think that's going to wrap us up for this week. We appreciate you taking the time.
Thank you, Rick. Always good to be here.
Well, that brings us to the end of another episode of Insights from the Farm. We want to thank our guest today, Andy Hull, who shared his story with us about how they've added Proven 40 to their fertility plan over the past 3 seasons here and been able to see a great return on investment by taking a reduction in their overall nitrogen program, get more efficient with their nitrogen utilization, and still see the same yields that they were hoping to see. If you'd like to see more results from farmers just like you in your local area, you can visit our Harvest Performance landing page at www.pivotsprovenit.com, where you can see both national and state-based results where farmers are replacing a portion of their nitrogen program with Proven 40 and still seeing the same or better yields. You can also follow along on social media by searching the hashtag Provenit to see more stories from farmers that are utilizing Proven 40 on their operations. We'll be back again next week with more real-world stories, and we'll dig into more agronomic insights about how you can add a new mode of action to your nitrogen program with Proven 40 and still see the same or better yields. We appreciate you taking the time to stay with us today, and we'll see you next week with more insights from the farm.